What's good, everybody? I don't work here, lady. These stories just never get old, and I got some good ones for you today. Let's jump on into it. Here we go. Switching it up. I don't work here, sir. I don't really know where to put this one, as technically it's a I don't work here story, but it's a little different as it was very intentional and I was the one mistaking someone for working somewhere. Now, just a word before the story. I'm happy with what I did. This might make me a jerk, but I don't regret it. So one of my closest friends works for Walmart. I met him when I too worked there. The job was god-awful. I might do a story of my last day working there, as it probably belongs on Reddit. I'll save a description of my friend, as it makes for a better comedic effect. Now, I personally recommend this sort of action, despite it being slightly rude, and, well, I'll just tell the story. You decide. Story time. So, despite my utter disgust and despising of the local Walmart due to my own short employment there, it's the best location for buying specific things like my needed soap and new headphones. And while I'm there, I get to talk to my friend, which I'm not going to describe just yet. Let's call him Ted. On this specific trip, I was there for headphones and stopped to see Ted, who was not very happy at all due to what appeared to be the mother of all elitist Karens in the store at the moment, causing trouble and yelling at him and others. Something about piercing and tattoos. I got a funny idea and didn't know exactly how effective it would be, but I got him to play along. He didn't even have to do very much outside his normal routine. So I approached the woman looking a little lost. I have no idea why this Karen was here. Older, lots and lots of jewelry, including a fat heavy golden cross. She looked like the very definition of holier than thou, and apparently she had been making quite the ruckus when the peasant workers couldn't help her to her exact request. I honestly didn't know why she was in Walmart, but she was about to get a reason not to come back. I tapped on her shoulder, not just a tap, but a heavy, let me speak to your manager, super entitled tapping. She turned to me like she was about to pop a blood vessel. In my best annoyed voice, I spoke.
Ma'am, I have been waiting for 5 minutes. Where are the headphones?
She practically frothed at the mouth mid-aneurysm and started to explode into something I think was supposed to be English. But I just waved her off dismissively and continued.
You need to learn to treat customers better. I asked 5 minutes ago and still no one is helping me.
After a little while longer, she finally managed to get off something about audacity. Something hate you, something, and finally she doesn't work in this horrid place. I just scoffed.
What do you mean you don't work here? Look at you. Dime store necklace, dollar store clothes, and your haircut. You look like an angry lesbian. Of course you work here. I mean, just look around. You fit in perfectly.
I point at my Ted, my metalhead friend, thrashing his 2.5-foot long head of hair savagely to some song called Blood for the Blood God, wearing his kilt, both hands in devil horns, pausing his whiplash-inducing headbanging to screech with his tongue out, all his pagan jewelry flashing as he let out a long, inhuman screech. Needless to say, the woman, simply overloaded and horribly offended, she left the store either having a stroke or trying to use some old Latin exorcism incantation at us. Me and my friend had a good laugh, and he didn't get into trouble, and no one came to talk to me about it. So yeah, I may have been a bit rude, and judge me if you like. She was giving my friend a hard time and the store couldn't really punish me. So I jumped at the chance to intentionally pretend like I thought she worked there just to take her down a peg. That is a pretty savage way to deal with a Karen. I cast I don't work here lady and it was very effective. Oh, Walmart, avoid that place at all costs. I volunteer here, lady. I volunteer at a zoo as a docent. My job is talking to guests about the animals on exhibit, conservation efforts, and answering questions. My name tag says Sarah, volunteer, as in, I don't do this for money. It's because I care about conservation. Most people are nice. A few times I've been mistaken for a zookeeper, but whenever I'm mistaken for an actual employee, I've never been treated with disrespect until this incident. I was working the gorilla exhibit and talking to a guest about the gorillas. She was asking me a lot of questions, which I happily answered. She smiled, thanked me, and went on her way when she was done. Right after she walks away, this woman in her 40s, I'm guessing, with 2 kids, one at each side, came up to me with a very smug grin and tone of voice. Lady,
is this all you do? Talk about gorillas?
She said it as if she was about to launch into a "this is why we go to college, kids" talk with her kids. I just stared her in the eyes and smiled. Me? No, ma'am. I'm a volunteer docent. I answer guest questions and educate the public about the animals on exhibit and conservation efforts. I go to school at local college as a biology major when I'm not volunteering. I pointed to my name tag that says volunteer, and her face fell immediately. She went sort of white in the face. The smug tone disappeared and she averted her eyes. "Good work," she said half-heartedly, not looking at me before pulling her kids away from the exhibit. I'm still not 100% clear on what she was trying to do. I could have misunderstood her tone of voice, but it came off very smug and condescending. The hesitation I have over it is partially because what I was doing would seem like an odd job to be judging as low class, considering I was literally educating other people, but I don't know, man. This lady's just mad jealous. She just wants to talk about the gorillas too. Yes, I work in the airport. No, I don't work for the airlines. Sorry in advance, this is a long one. Strap yourselves in. Also on mobile, so there might be some format issues and autocorrect problems. Please bear with me. Some background. I work for a rental car company in a very small airport. Literally, the airport consists of one room with TSA working as a partition between the entrance to the airport and the gate to board the plane. The front desk of the rental car company is rather large with the company name on it. It's also the first thing travelers see when they enter the airport, whether it's coming off the plane or coming in to board the plane. So I'm used to people coming in and thinking we're an all-knowing information booth for the airport, regardless of the large yellow wall behind me or the big letters on the desk. Typically, the information that people are looking for is easy enough for me to answer. For example, when does Alaska Airlines open? What do I do about parking? Where is TSA? Etc. All the questions are a bit annoying since the airport is only one room and all it would take is for someone to walk 5 steps in any direction to get to the right location. But it is what it is. Also, it is worth mentioning this. It is FAA regulation that the airlines have to close down 40 minutes prior to departure. After that time, you cannot check in for your flight and you cannot get a boarding pass. And that is on all systems. You cannot check in on your phone or electronic kiosk with less than 40 minutes before departure. To be clear, this is done for Homeland Security reasons and is not due to staffing issues. Once the 40-minute mark passes, all staff and passengers have to go to the secure side of the airport and cannot come back until after the flight takes off. At larger airports, these regulations are either not as well known or not a huge problem, since going through security usually causes people to check in for their flight within an hour or two to spare. But at our little hole-in-the-wall airport, people frequently come in with less than 40 minutes until their flight because TSA takes them 5 minutes to get through, regardless of the fact that Alaska Airlines sends email updates to let you know to come in 2 hours before your flight. With all that being said, let's move on to the actual "I don't work here, lady" moment. A customer approached my desk to pick up his rental car. I go through all the paperwork and send him on his way. He comes back a few days later to turn in his car and catch his flight. It's pretty standard with our customers that they are usually pretty avid travelers and have their travel plans perfected to a T. So the customer hands me the keys to the rental, a print of a receipt, let him know that Alaska Airlines closes soon and that if he needs to get his boarding pass or check a bag, do it soon. Customer grunts and carries on his way. I've done my part, so I'm getting ready for the customers that are coming in on the next flight. I hear an Alaska agent make their stereotypical 5 minutes until the desk closes announcement. I keep doing my thing. Now, usually there are 3 people working my booth, but due to some complex staffing issues that aren't worth getting into, I was the only one working that day. Additionally, it was one of our more high volume days. So I was alone, doing a 3-person job by myself, and attempting to get all the cars I needed ready. As I finished getting the last car ready that I needed, the car the customer just returned, I come in from my parking lot to see a customer standing at my desk. He's talking on the phone, making it difficult to talk to him and find out what he needs. Obviously upset that I wasn't at the desk constantly. The entire exchange goes like this.
Yeah, I can't find anyone that works here.
Puts itinerary down on the desk in front of me.
Check me in.
Sorry, sir, but I don't work for the airlines. I just do the rental cars. Customer to the phone.
Hold on a sec, she's being dumb.
To me.
What do you mean you can't check me in? You work for the airport, don't you?
Yes, I work for the airport, but I don't work for the airlines. If you need a boarding pass, you can talk to the airlines.
There's no one there.
Yes, so they have to close 40 minutes prior to departure per FAA regulations. You're going to have to wait until they come back after the next flight takes off. At this point, the inbound flight has landed and my customers are lining up behind the man at the counter. But the man wasn't willing to accept my information.
But I'm supposed to be on that plane.
Yes, so unfortunately without a boarding pass, there is nothing anyone else can do. You will have to wait for an agent to come back and get you rescheduled on the next flight out.
Well, go to the back and get one of them for me. I'll wait.
Goes back to talking to someone on the phone that's been pressed to his ear the entire time. I'm sorry, sir. My booth is completely separate from the airlines. There's no way for me to grab someone from the back. Customer to phone.
Sorry, hold on. It seems like nobody here can do their jobs.
To me.
If you can't get anyone, then how am I supposed to make my flight?
Unfortunately, you have missed it. You will need to wait for an Alaska agent to come back and reschedule or call the 800 number on their podium.
This is ridiculous. Give me my car back. I'll just drive to the other airport myself.
Unfortunately, I can't do that either. I go on to explain how I didn't have the availability to send a car one way and how I had to honor my reservations in the order that they've come in. So everyone piled up in line behind him and needed to get their cars first. However, if he was willing to wait for an hour, I could take care of all the customers in line and go out and clean a car to get him to his destination. He didn't like that idea either. Something about he would miss his connecting flight if he waited an hour. But the drive to his destination would take 3 hours anyways, so he was going to miss his connecting flight regardless.
You have two options. You are either checking me in for this flight right now or get me someone who can.
We go back and forth another 5 minutes about how I can't do anything for him, but he wasn't going to leave until I did something. At this point, the customers behind him start getting irritable. It's 7 p.m. They just want to get into their rental cars and go to their hotels. Customer handing me his phone.
Please explain to my boss how you refused to let me on this plane.
I'm not refusing to let you on. I just don't work for the airlines. So I take the phone and explain the situation to his boss. Unfortunately, your employee missed their flight. It didn't matter that I told him to check in, that the airlines made announcements, or that any other airport would have the same problem. He was more concerned with his phone than his travel plans. I hung up the phone, passed it back to him, and ushered him out of the way towards the direction of the airline's desk, where he spent the next 30 minutes crying and blubbering to try to get on the flight that had already taken off. The next flight wasn't until 5 a.m. the next day. Thankfully, the rest of the people in line were abnormally nice to me. I think they must have heard how rude the man was being. Oh man, serves him right to have to sit there until the next day. What an entitled little man-child. Alright everybody, that's going to do it for this episode of I Don't Work Here Lady. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already, and we'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.